All right, guys, we are back with the latest episode of the Envisions Podcast. Today, we have 0 to 60-ish with us. I love these guys. We've been working with them for, it'll be a year in 2 weeks, which is crazy to think about because we've done a lot in the last year. So, if you guys want to start us off, introduce yourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having us first and foremost. What's up, everybody? My name is Jonathan. A lot of people call me Johnny. I'm CEO and president of 0 to 60-ish.
Adam, vice president, 0 to 60-ish.
That's great. Final.
So how did 0 to 60 get started?
Pretty simple. We wanted to make our own lifestyle brand. You know what I mean? We always dove into everybody else's stuff, and we cruised with all these other guys, and we had fun. It was a blast, but I'm like, there's no name behind it.
Right.
I feel like that was the biggest thing. It was missing a name. You know what I mean? And I feel like the name would create a band of brothers.
Makes sense.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So when we mentioned it, as a group of us, 7 guys, right?
Right. Yep.
We all grew up together. We're super close. We've gone fishing together, ride BMX bikes, like all that stuff. We've been friends for a long time. So I felt like it was just fair to have the conversation with those guys because they're all in the cars, right?
Right.
So we all decided together to come up with something. You know what I mean? And that's what we did. That's what we did. All those guys still cruise with us to this day. They rep the brand.
Yep.
That's huge.
You know, we run the brand in the company, but the other guys are all part of it. You know, they come to the shows with us. We cruise together. We go out to dinner.
Yep.
You know, we're lifelong friends.
Yeah.
And they also chime in and give us some ideas.
Right.
You know what I mean? They help us if we're going to a show and we're setting up. You know, we got to set up the booth and get all the clothing and everything ready. They'll come with us. They'll get there early in the morning and help set up the booth. You know.
That's awesome. Can't ask for much more than that.
Can't ask much more than that.
We just knew we wanted to make it something more than what it was.
Yeah.
And we wanted people to see that and feel like they could be a part of it and just basically share our journey with everyone around us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of where it all started. I said, you know what? Let's come up with a brand. Mm-hmm. And basically that's what we did. The name actually took quite a while to come up with.
What were some other potential names, if you remember?
I can't even remember. But the 0 to 60 it came up off the rip. Yeah. Okay. But we're like, we can't just use 0 to 60 because it's...
Well, yeah.
It's like, it's obviously, it's really out there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's used for everything.
Yeah.
So it was exactly like you said, it was too used. So we kind of we put that on the back burner, and then we started thinking about some other names and you know, just with everything else that we had going on in life, and sometimes we'd put it behind us. And then he'd have an idea, I'd have an idea, our other buddy Omar would have an idea, and we kind of just send text messages back and forth to each other and be like, hey, what do you think about this? And we'd be like, yo, that sounds good. And then we'd be like, nah, that's not gonna work. And then one day our buddy Omar said, ish. And I was like, yo, that's it. When he said the ish, I was like, yo, 0 to 60-ish.
That's fire.
With it. So all the other guys, I was like, what do you guys think?
Yeah, we ran it by everybody first.
Yeah, everybody loved it. They're like, yeah, that's dope, man. I'm like, the ish part is kind of what makes it. You know what I mean? Sure, absolutely. 0 to 60 is cool, but the ish is what really stands out. Right?
It's the personality.
It's what makes it.
That being said, you know, when we're cruising, I think where this all kind of came into place is I remember when Omar brought up the whole ish part. He said, what do you guys think about that? And I said, you know what? I use the ish all the time. Right. All of us do. And it brought me back to this one time I got pulled over by a cop. And
how fast were you going?
He said, first he comes over to me and he says, you know, license and registration, you know, yada, yada. So I give it to him. And I said, may I ask why you're pulling me over? And he said, how fast do you think you were going? And, you know, I said, I don't know, 60-ish. Yeah. And he said, "Oh, ish, really? 60-ish?" And I said, "Yeah." And anytime I get pulled over, I always use the ish. You know what I mean? Because like I don't know, somewhere around 50-ish or 60-ish, right? So it just kind of when Omar came up with the whole ish thing, I'm like, yeah, let's use that. It sounds
Oh,
good.
it makes sense.
Like, yeah.
Everyone else gets it too right away. Everyone knows.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah. It's also like, it brings me back to what Virgil said when I forget what he was talking about. It was about the Nike, the 10, where he basically said about like when you want to make something new, you only have to really change it 3%. So then it's like it's similar enough to what people know, but then it's different enough to kind of stand out. Like people know 0 to 60, and they think about, oh yeah, what's the 0 to 60 on this car? But then when they see 0 to 60-ish, it's like just like that tiny little difference.
Yeah.
But that's what kind of built the brand.
So it makes
That
sense.
Right.
More than a
Exactly.
whole unique name.
And every time someone
Yeah.
reads it, when they say ish, they laugh. They're like, oh my God, ish.
And you never have to
Yeah,
explain
that's
it.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it was some random name, you'd have to explain it every time.
It's like the slogan that we use, never too fast, right?
Yeah.
That can mean many things.
Yep.
So, and then as far as like the actual design goes for the logo itself, which is right here for anybody that hasn't seen it, that's the logo. It's very simple, but a lot of work went into it, into designing it.
Did you guys do it yourself or you hired out?
Yeah. No, so I'll break that down for you real quick. So after we came up with the name, I said, all right, we need something that's going to be simple, bold, stands out, grabs people's attention. We want them to remember it, right?
Right.
So it's like almost like I was looking for something where we could kind of get free advertising. And I'm like, okay, how do I do that? So we came up with the idea of using the speed limit signs that you see off the side of the highway, right? Where you see like speed limit, 55 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour, whatever. So that's kind of where this design came from right here. This is the actual sign.
Yep.
We use that, and then instead of just, putting all numbers or script or whatnot, I decided to let's write it out 0 instead of putting a 0.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
We wrote it out 0 and then 2 and then the 60 and then the ish at the bottom. So it kind of almost, when people see that, they think of the speed limit sign itself.
Right.
So I've had multiple people, come up to me and they're like, oh, that's so clever, the design of the logo that you guys did. You're like, did you know that looks like the speed limit sign?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
But
So I'm
it's
like,
so memorable because it's,
You see it every day.
yeah.
I'm like, that's why I did it.
Subliminal
You know
message.
what I mean?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's why I did it. So, but yeah, it looks super simple.
It looks really good.
but it took a while to put it together.
yeah. The details are there too.
Yeah.
The skid marks.
So I reached out to a couple people to kind of help me put it together.
Okay.
One of my buddies, my longtime friends that I went to school with, Derek Johnson. I reached out to him. He helped me out with it a little bit. Super, super busy guy, really cool dude. He kind of got it started for me. And once we got to one point, I was like, okay, this is good. I don't want to waste any more of your time. I'm just gonna mess around with it myself. And then I actually spoke to my older brother. He's an artist.
Yeah.
So I spoke to him. I said, hey, I want you to help me, come up with a cool design for like the 0, like tire marks or whatever.
Right.
So we kind of started doing like J strips. And this is kind of where this all kind of originated from, because my brother helped me with it. But I said, you know what, let's get rid of the J strips and let's do like a donut, like going into the 0.
Yeah.
So he finished the design. He drew it out. I said, awesome, that's perfect. Let's go with it. And that's what we did. So that's how the design came about. And because we're a streetwear clothing brand, we love graffiti.
Yeah.
So we had to go with like the graffiti to top it off.
Yeah. Just looks like a vandalized street sign,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So let's get into how we met. Do you remember?
I do at one of Empire's car shows, correct?
Car shows. So basically, I just remember I DM'd you a couple weeks before, and then like you like messaged me back, but then I never heard anything back after. And then I saw you at the show, and I was like, I got to talk to this guy. He's driving my dream car. Yeah. So I just went up to you, like never have talked to you before, and I was like, hey, I make some clothing, and then I like took you over to my table, and then we were like, oh yeah, you have your show going on, and then you asked me to be a vendor, and I was like, all right, cool, that's great, but that wasn't my intentions. So then, after that, what I ended up doing is at your show, I made you the mock-up of the racing jacket, and then I showed you at that, and I think that was just something that, I don't know, I like telling that story a lot.
Yeah. I don't know if I asked you to be a vendor. I think you asked if you could be a vendor at my show.
It might have been that.
Sounds more right.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I can't remember, but no, honestly, the day I met you, I thought you were a cool dude. I thought you were solid. I said, now we could have a good relationship here for sure. So we both put the trust in each other and we went with it. And again, like you said, a year later, we're here, we're friends. We do some business together. Yeah. I can tell the future is going to be great. We're going to keep working together. I met Alex. Alex is a cool dude. Now we've done car shows, fashion shows.
Yeah.
All these different things together. Products. Yeah. Designs,
and flyers and videos. And it's been a busy year. How did you get the idea to have the fashion show that we did end up having?
My mind is crazy, bro.
Yeah.
I go to sleep at night and sometimes I just dream of like the weirdest things, but sometimes I take some pretty cool stuff away from it. And I don't know. I think I was dreaming one night and it was like we had like models like walking down the runway wearing like 0 to 60-ish clothing, you know what I mean? And I just thought it was cool. But I think what had happened where this was all initiated from was like I seen the fashion shows that you guys were having.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, I know we're doing our own clothing, but I never really thought of the whole fashion show thing, you know what I mean? But then like a light bulb went off in my head when I was sleeping and I was like, yo, what if we had like a fashion show with like all the new merch, right? That we were currently designing with like crazy cars at Game On Sports Complex, like just all these things just seemed like, okay, this will work. This would be dope. This would be a vibe. I felt like the models would really like it. The brand designers, they would like it. And then just the people coming to enjoy the show, you know what I mean? It'd be something new, something unique for everybody to kind of experience. So then, after that was cooking in my mind a little bit, I approached you and I said, hey, what do you think? Let's do it. You know what I mean? Let's make this happen. And then you helped make it happen. You guys
from there.
Yeah, you guys made it happen.
It's a crazy night.
And the show was awesome.
The show was awesome. Yeah. And I think the biggest part about the show is like we've been to some other shows before and most of them like they look very similar. So I think what we were able to do with that show with the cars and the models and just like the setting itself is just like it really disrupted the entire fashion scene because I had everybody asking like, yo, like what is this show?
Yeah.
So
what's going on here?
Yep.
Yeah, because like people didn't know it was a car show or a fashion show. They're just kind of like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Which is a better question than you'd think.
Yeah.
It's a question you want people to ask all the time. Yeah. Anything you're doing. When you guys started 0 to 60-ish, what was the goal? Like, was any of the stuff you were doing now? Could you have seen that then?
Nah, not necessarily. I mean, what we wanted to do is we really just wanted to have car shows for the local like communities like Fitchburg, Leominster, Gardner, like Lunenburg, Fitchburg, Leominster, Gardner, Townsend, like all the surrounding towns. We kind of just wanted to give them something different that they're not used to. You know what I mean? Like everyone, when they have car shows in those towns, it's usually like classic, muscle cars.
Some JDMs will show up.
Sports cars, JDM, like he said, stuff like that. And a lot of these kids, like they love supercars. You know what I mean? Like they see them on TV, YouTube, whatever. And I'm like, but they don't get to actually see them in person. Mm-hmm. And it's just a completely different vibe. So, I have that in my back pocket. You know what I mean? Right. So if I have we have the ability to bring those people in cars here, like, why not do it? Right. It kind of touches back to where I said, before we started the brand, him and I, my brother, and a few of our other friends, we'd go on rallies with other people, and if you didn't have a high-end car, you weren't welcome. You know what I mean? Nobody knew about these rallies and stuff. It was very secretive. You had to be like in a secret, in a club. You know what I mean? A special club where you had to have, they didn't come out and say it, but you had to, you kind of had to be somewhere else in life to be a part of it.
Interesting.
And all great people. I said, I want to change it up. I want to make it a little different. I want to be a little different. What I want to do is I want to host, supercar shows, but these shows are also welcoming cars from every type of, walk. You know what I mean? Right. Whether it's JDM, American Muscle, lifted trucks. You know what I mean? As long as you're good people, you have a nice car, you put pride into your build, then you're welcome to be a part of it.
Right.
0 to 60ish, we want everyone to be part of the family. You know what I mean?
Want to be inclusive.
Yeah. Right. We welcome you with open arms as long as you're good people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
what do you guys see for feedback for that? Like, I'm sure the people that you're letting in like it, but do you see people higher up sort of say stuff, or?
It's funny that you say that.
It is funny that you say that.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed some people act kind of like indifferent.
Mm-hmm.
They're indifferent with it, and whatever. That's fine.
No, you see that.
Like, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I don't care what anybody else, what anybody else thinks, if they think negative or anything like that, because because we want everybody to feel like they can be a part of the brand and the culture, then whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we're all about today's generation and the future and building people up to want to do better, to be able to get themselves to that level to buy a supercar. You know what I mean? If that's what they choose to do. You know what I mean? But that's up to them. That's their prerogative. You know what I'm saying? But I would never cut somebody out because, they come from another place in life.
Right.
Like I said, we come from humble beginnings. My parents were very, very good to me. Like, I grew up good. I respected my elders. My parents taught me, right from wrong, but we didn't have everything. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes we'd share clothes, hand you down jackets, stuff like that. It sucked. Yeah. But it made me who I am today.
Exactly.
Like, I appreciate everything that I have.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I'll just put it out there. I'm not rich. I'm not even close to rich. But, the goal is, obviously we all have goals in life. We all want to be successful, right? I'm not going to say that I don't do good for myself, because that would be a lie. But, the goal is to, keep climbing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going off that, so you guys are all from Gardner, Fitchburg?
No, so we're actually all from Fitchburg.
Fitchburg area?
Yeah, Fitchburg originally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, okay, you say you're not rich, but if people out there, like, he has a sports car, he's rich, all this, whatever. How did you guys, both of you guys, get to the point where you're able to afford cars like that and sort of?
Well, first off, I'm not a kid. I'm 43 years old, so I'm kind of an old dude, right? I live like I'm young. I don't have any kids.
Yeah.
I love kids. It just never happened for me. I don't have any. I worked really hard, working with my brother, and I've, an entrepreneurial life. I've dabbled with the stock market, made some good money at the casinos. You know what I mean? I made some good investments, and I don't have a family. I don't have kids, so it makes it a little easier for me to be able to afford something like that.
Right.
It's still expensive. It's painful.
Well, yeah, of course.
But I've been into it for so long. I worked my way up to these type of cars. My first really nice car was a BMW M3. It was an E46.
Sweet.
It was a salvage title car. You know what I mean? I picked it up for $9,000.
Yeah.
It had 10,000 miles on it, I think. It was beautiful, gorgeous, beautiful car. I actually picked it up in Leominster, and that's what changed everything for me. I bought that car, did some upgrades to it. I enjoyed it for a bit. I sold it. I bought it back. I sold it again. Every time I sold that car, I made like huge profits on it. It was crazy.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, I bought and sold the car 3 times.
Wow.
Then I worked my way up to a Porsche Cayman.
Yeah.
My buddy Marty out in New York City, He had just moved back from Miami. He had that car for a few years. It was his favorite car. He loved it, but moving back into New York City, the garage where he had to park it was like a, it was underground, like garage. So he'd come home late at night, he'd have a few cocktails, and he'd have to put boards and drive the car over the boards to get into the parking garage, and he'd bottom out. And, obviously if you're drinking and he's like, yeah, I can't do this. So at that point in time, I didn't know the guy, but he told me this was the story and this is why he was selling it. Yeah. So I saw the car on Facebook Marketplace. Yep. I drove out there with my brother. I looked at the car. I fell in love with it. I bought it on the spot. I drove it for 3 months. I flipped it. I made a good profit on it. And that's kind of what I did. Yeah. I was out of the car scene for a little bit though, because I was just like, I want to make this money. I want to invest into something. So I had bought myself a new daily. It was a Mercedes. It was no AMG or nothing like that. It was just a regular daily all-wheel drive car. This guy pulls up to the car wash one day in his all-track Celica. He just took it out. He built the car. Is fully built. It's like 350 wheel horsepower car, and was shooting the shit. And he's like, "What'd you do with the Porsche?" And I was like, "I sold it." He's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got this Mercedes, so I'm gonna put wheels on it." He's like, "Bro, really? It's got no balls though. It had like 200 horse." I'm like, "Nah, it's fine. I'll get it tuned." And then he finished washing his car, and then he takes off, like spinning the wheels. This guy's a maniac. He takes off down the road, spinning the wheels, and I was like, dude, I gotta go buy a new car. I'm like, this sucks. So like instantly, I went back home. I counted my money. And I went out and bought a brand new Z06 Corvette. Yeah. Sweet. Me and my brother bought it together, actually. And dude, it was like a huge jump. It was a $100,000 car. Yeah. But I was like, I'm back in the game. So I get that. I'm like, hey, come over. So he comes over to my house one day, or it might have been the shop. And I was like, hey, come by the shop. I'm like, I got a new car. He's like, what'd you get? And I was like, just come by. And like, it was the first like 6-figure car that we had in the group. You know what I mean? So he was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, yeah, man. I'm like, well, me and my brother bought it together. Yeah. But it was like $106,000. It was the best car you could get. Best package you could get. It was, 2016 Z06, Z07 package, carbon ceramic brakes, 7-speed manual. I mean, it was an amazing car.
So that was like...
That's kind of what really
got you into the supercar scene.
Yeah, and then my brother, he's a larger guy. He, I don't know, he said I took the Z06 all the time. Yeah. He's like, you don't let me drive the car, I'm just going to go buy another car. So he went and bought a brand new GTR. Okay. And that was dope. So then that's where it really started to get bad. Okay. It became an addiction. And we'd race each other and kind of he'd win, I'd win, whatever. Then he got a Supra and he started building a Supra, but he wanted supercar power. He wanted to jump into a supercar, and I guess he can kind of tell you.
Well, during COVID, building the Supra, did the fully built motor, fully built head, putting it all together. Yeah. Almost done. Ordered my wire harness. Wire harness took a year and a half to come in. So I'm like, you know what? I'm sick of waiting. Yeah. I don't have anything right now. I've been out for a year, So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go buy something. So I went online, Car Gurus, cars.com, and I found the Maserati Gran Turismo MC. Mm-hmm. So I went and looked at that. It was actually kind of hard to get a hold of someone through cars.com. Yeah. I don't know if you guys ever used that, but it's through email only. So okay. But they weren't responding, so I had Rich at Toyota. He looked up the VIN, found the owner, and then finally got a hold of him, went and looked at the car, picked it up instantly. I love the car. And I got it one day before Dream Ride. Okay. Which is the biggest car show. Yeah. So I wanted it for Dream Ride. So I ended up getting a car with the Dream Ride. So it was a good one. It was my step into the supercar.
Yeah, so he got that Maserati MC. That car was dope. I loved it. The thing ripped. It was a nice car. And you could tell he was happy that he crossed over into the exotic car world. because he always had a smile on his face.
When driving, yeah.
When he was, his Supra was a cool car. He always does really good builds. And keep in mind, this is all before 0 to 60. There was no 0 to 60ish at this point. Yep. We're just friends cruising, driving together, and doing these rallies with all these other people. Yep. But his Supra, he got the car and he put a bunch of money into it right away. But there was one thing that cracked me up about that car. He never saw it because he's in the driver's seat. But we'd be cruising, and he didn't have like the fender liners inside the wheel wells. Yeah. So when he'd hit a certain speed, the front of the bumper would be flapping in the wind. And I'm like, this thing wants to fly away. You know what I mean? It'd be flapping, and my brother would call me and he'd be like, look at Adam's bumper. It's flapping in the wind, you know what I mean?
That was when I first got it. I fixed it.
Yeah, he fixed it. But it was funny. It was funny. Yeah. And I was like, we'd tell him, like, yo, your bumper's like flapping in the wind. It's just shit we do, you know? We bust each other's balls. Yeah. And I'm like, you need to get those liners right there. Right. And I remember one of the other guys on one of the routes was like, hey, your buddy's bumper's going to go flying off. But when we get to the location, wherever it was we going, it looked fine. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because it was just, when you're going like 60-ish, the bumper tends to flap, right? So, but at a standstill, everything looked fine. Yeah. So his whole motto was, well, if I don't see it, it's not a big deal. It's not a problem.
For the most part.
I see it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's funny.
It's cool. I mean, the journey, man. The journey to get there. Some people think some people will say, oh, you guys get daddy's money or whatever. I'm like, my dad don't have any money. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have money like that. Yeah. Like, I work my ass off for everything I have.
Right. So, how did you go from the Maserati to what you have now?
Oh, the Maserati, one day, the first time I drove it in the rain, they just repaved the highway. Okay. And I was just cruising, going down toward Worcester on 190.
Right.
And this Jeep Compass pulled up next to me and went to take a picture or something. I don't know. I seen it like the side of my eye, and he hydroplaned, I think, into my back, spun me around, and I was going like backwards, steering it. It was crazy. I was like, so I kept it on the highway, but after hitting the Jersey barrier, it spun around.
Yeah.
And it was sliding backwards, and I kept it on the road because like there's trees on the side of the road. Mm-hmm. I wasn't going off the road at 50 miles an hour backwards. Yeah. So I ended up, keeping it under control, and then the beginning of the guardrail was right there, and it caught the front wheel and ripped it out. So that was the end of that.
End of that one. Jeez. Yeah. You guys run into that a lot with cars, where like just idiots on the road trying to take pictures, shit like that, screw you over?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Do you guys have other stories? Like, does that happen more than just there, where like idiots on the road are trying to take pictures of the cars and can't drive?
So what I've seen happen multiple times is you'll have somebody pull up next to you in a Altima. I don't know why it's the Altima, but it is.
Always the Altima.
And the car's loaded. Yep. Like, it sits like 4 people comfortably. Yeah. There's like 7. And they'll pull up next to you and they'll like, yo, they'll like rev it or like whatever, you know what I mean? And they'll start filming you, and they'll ride the tail of your car. Yeah. Or they'll get up next to you and they'll try to race, or just, try to get your attention, and they're taking pictures and they're swerving into your lane. Mm-hmm. Like, it happens all the time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
That's scary.
I mean, I get it. They're fascinated by it. They think it's cool, whatever. But, yeah, it's dangerous out there in those streets.
Yep.
Then for whatever reason, they think they're faster than you, so they'll fly by you and cut you off.
Oh yeah, we noticed that too. And like when that happens, you'll see that the car's all over the place. It's swerving. It's on 2 wheels. Like it's scary. I'm like, damn, these dudes are crazy.
Yeah.
They think we're crazy, but the cars that we have, like, they can handle these roads at
right.
Whatever speed you're driving
at the ish speed that you're going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you guys aren't NASCAR drivers, you can't save yourself half the time if they start doing dumb shit.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a couple incidents where I got myself out of it last winter. It's scary night. I lost one of my center caps, but I saved the car.
R.I.P. Center Cap.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Pouring out. I think that's the thing too with like how we were talking about earlier, that like there wasn't really a car scene in this area. So like me growing up, I know I told you this before, but like before that Empire car show where I met you at, I'd never been to a car show before.
Yeah.
Like, so like growing up in Gardner, and like when you see these cars on the highway, you're just like baffled, because you're just like, what is this so-and-so car doing in Fitchburg?
Yeah.
So like you like think of it as like a once in a lifetime opportunity of just like seeing that car. And then now that I've been like working with you guys for a year or so, I drove by a Ferrari the other day, and I was just kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because you see them.
I see them all the time.
You're getting numb to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happens.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I love cars the same as I did, 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Right.
But, when I see them, I have an inner happiness, but I'm not like, wow, you know what I mean? Like this, if I see a car and the build is dope, I'm like, oh, it's a dope build.
Nice.
You know what I mean? But honestly, nothing impresses me.
Right.
Like nothing but respect, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody's build. I respect everybody's build. Whether I don't care if it's a Honda or a hypercar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I just don't. The wow factor for me is,
Yeah.
I keep it inside.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I see the car, I'm like, oh, these are cool, whatever. Like maybe it'll give me some ideas of something, future things I'd like to do with my cars. But I mean, if I see a Bugatti or a Pagani or anything like that, I'm like, okay,
Nice.
these are dope. You know what I mean? And before I couldn't see why they were so much money, but now I do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the more you look at them, the details, like these cars are built out of made with all carbon fiber.
Yeah.
They're just very intricate designs. Like the quality's there. I mean, some of them may break down all the time, but they could be finicky.
Yep.
But the quality and craftsmanship is there.
Yeah.
People ask me, they're like, "Oh, do you want to get a hypercar?" And to be honest with you, if I'm answering truthfully, being transparent, like, nah, I don't care to. I would rather buy multiple supercars. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I feel, my opinion, the craftsmanship isn't as good.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But the quality of the drive absolutely is. Yeah, maybe it
Yeah.
doesn't come with 1,000, 1,200 horsepower. What, I don't care.
Yeah, you don't need that.
Like my favorite manufacturer brand is Ferrari. It always will be. Like I love Lamborghini. I love the R8s, Porsche. Like they're all amazing cars. McLaren. But Ferrari for me it's everything. And Ferraris they're finicky cars too. I've had one. My brother has one. I've driven multiple Ferraris. If I could have any car right now, let's just take price aside, my car would be the 812 Superfast. You know what I mean? Probably be the GTS.
Yep.
Because it's got the retractable roof.
Yeah.
But I think I know prices have come down a little bit, but this is like $700,000 car. You know what I mean? Like
Is that
spec'd
your
out
dream
with
car?
everything.
Is that the dream car?
It's my goal car. I'm not gonna say my dream car because I feel like when you say this is my dream car, it's like you'll never have it. When you say
I like
it's my
that.
goal
I like
car,
that.
I like that.
when it's my
the next
goal,
step.
when I say this is a goal for me, that means
I'm gonna start using that.
I'm pretty sure I'll reach it.
I'll start using that. What's your goal car?
The goal car is an F8
Okay.
Spider. Yeah.
These are beautiful.
So set smaller goals. That way they're easily achievable, and then you can, keep climbing.
There you
Yeah.
go. Wise. Adam, how'd you get into cars? Earlier than
I was born into it.
yeah.
My family always was into cars,
Okay.
always around cars. My dad was always working on cars. My brother was always working on cars. But I self-taught myself mechanics.
Oh, sweet. Okay. So were you guys were friends when you were kids, right? Were you into cars
Yeah,
then,
so-
or was it one of those things where you guys?
My brother, him and my brother are like closer in age.
Okay.
You're 40 now, right?
Yeah.
40. My brother's 39. So they met each other first. Through bikes, BMX bikes.
Okay.
So we all used to ride bikes.
Yep.
I rode, but my brother and Adam, they started riding together, and then I met him, and him and I ended up becoming good friends after that. We all rode together, and that's kind of like how we all stuck together through BMX bikes, right? So when you're kids, obviously we love cars, but we couldn't afford cars and we weren't old enough to drive them, right?
Right.
We were young teenagers, but we had the best bikes. We had the best quality bikes, but they were kind of crappy.
Yeah.
Right.
Like they were beat up, whatever. Like my parents finally, they saw like, okay, John's really into bikes. Like he's getting good at it. Like let's invest in a good bike set, a good frame set for him, and they did eventually. So I finally got myself a good bike. I built something really good, and we used to trade throughout the neighborhood and barter with the other guys that were into the bikes as well. But we used to go to demo. We'd ride in the demos. We did dirt jumping. We rode the parks, and we did that for I don't know, man. I want to say like 15 years of riding.
Wow.
At least, off and on.
Yeah.
And we never stopped, but we just didn't ride heavy like we used to. Life gets in the way, right?
Exactly.
Work.
Yeah.
So for a while, one point in my life, I didn't have a nice car at all. You know what I mean? I mean, we can dive into that after, but I didn't have a nice car. I had a daily driver to get me back and forth to work. I went through some things in life, and my car was a hoopty. You know what I mean? But I was happy. You know what I mean? And I told myself, I said, I'll get to the next level in life at some point in time. I just got to keep my head down and keep working and figure things out, and that's what I did. But we all started riding bikes together again later in life, and the passion was still there.
Right.
And then fast forward a few more years later, and then when COVID came, like I said earlier, everything was shut down. So we all started riding our BMX bikes because everybody had time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People were working
Best part
remote,
about COVID.
or companies were just shut down. So we did what we could, man, and we enjoyed our time as friends together, and we built a stronger bond. But it was like, it's almost kind of like full circle.
Yeah.
Like there was other people that I was hanging out with in life that I stopped hanging out with just because they weren't, not necessarily good for me, but just we were just on different paths. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how all of us, like childhood friends, kind of came back in together. It just happened like overnight. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then we got into the mountain biking, and we started doing that. And then we got into deep sea fishing, and like we were doing all these extreme. We love extreme sports. We love living extreme, like adrenaline. Yeah, like kind of adrenaline junkies,
Yeah.
And that's really what really tied us back in together, like heavy, And that's
crazy.
Where 0 to 60ish really came to life. We didn't know it was gonna be what it is today, and you never know.
Right.
You know what I mean? You start something and it's something else, and then it kind of trickles into something else. You know what I mean? You have all these new thoughts and ideas, and okay, let's do this, let's do that, and we at the end of the day, we're like, we want to become a lifestyle brand for car enthusiasts, and that's what we did, and that's who we are today. And we're still trying to find our niche, but there's a lot of moving parts to this brand and company, right? So we started off as a brand, and we became a company after. So the first year and a half, we were just a brand. We were doing local car shows, nothing crazy, because we're still trying to figure out, like, okay, what do we want to do next? I said, well, I want to turn this into a business.
Right.
Let's turn this into a company. Clothing is always a good way to have, to give yourself some real growth, right?
I agree.
So we started doing clothes in the beginning. Yeah. But it was just, simple, basic T-shirts. Right. Wow, white and black plain tees with just the logo that we had. And Ferrari New England, they allowed us to sit under their tent for Dream Ride. Not last year, but the year before. Sweet. So it was all kind of like in the beginning of this. And we killed it. People loved the shirts. They loved the beginning of the brand. You know what I mean? Like who we were, and just because we're very personable and, we're outgoing. We like to talk to people, and we're humble, like I said. Right. Because a lot of people will be like, "Oh, you want a supercar? You're probably arrogant, probably cocky." No, I'm completely opposite from that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I can tell you, I'm a solid dude. We're good people, and those are the only type of people that we want involved in this. You know what I mean? Like good people, but yeah. So that's kind of where I thought, like, okay, this 0 to 60ish thing could be a lot more than what it is. We got something here.
Right.
And I kind of gave ourselves a 5-year plan. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, realistically, we started 2.5 years ago, but we're like 2 years. I'd say 2 years in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 9 months, 10 months as an actual business. So,
wow.
We still have, and we did a lot.
Yeah.
Done a lot.
It's done a lot.
Right? So we've been in the car world, this car world for a very long time, but there was no brand or nothing behind it. It was just friends cruising.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So there's a few other guys that are, that are in the brand with us.
Do I count?
Absolutely.
Yes.
But like as our beginners, the guys that started this with us, you know what I mean? They come from all different walks of life, different age group, you know what I mean? Like our buddy NASA Khan, he's an awesome dude. He's known my family forever. You know, he grew up with my father and all my dad's siblings in Lunenburg. And I used to always see this guy drive around in his Maserati, and then he got a Cadillac CTSV. And one day when I had the Corvette, I saw him in his CTSV, and he was over near Market Basket on John Fitch Highway in Fitchburg. So I pulled up next to him, and I was like, nice car, this, that. They both had the same drivetrain, 650 horsepower engines, and he was like, if you ever met him, the way he talks, he's a funny dude. He cracks me up. He's like, he was like, I know you boys, I know who you are. He was like, I grew up with your father and your uncles.
Yeah.
And honestly, from that day forth, we became really good friends. Yeah, and he's got a really nice collection himself, and that dude can drive. Mm-hmm. He's always like, he's got a Corvette ZR1 2019. Yep. Beautiful, beautiful car. He keeps it super, super clean. We would all blow him away, like when we would race on the highway. We'd do our on the track.
Yeah.
When we do our little runs, we would take him. Dude, he was so afraid to get on that car, so I'd take advantage of it and just block him. And he'd be like, I'll get you on the high. And I'm like, bud, I still haven't seen it happen yet. Like, when are you going to do this? I'm like, you always talk about it. I'm like, my car's all-wheel drive, buddy. I'm like, when I'm gone, that's it. I'm out. You're not catching up to me.
Yeah.
Well, so a year later, he's had the car for, a year at this point.
Yeah.
And this all happened last year. So I'm on the highway, and we're rolling, and I'm like, let's go. And we take off, and I pull from him right off the rip. And he spooled me in, and he passed me, and we raced like 3 more times, and he got me, and I'm like, son of a... He got me, and he looked over at me, and he smiled, and he's like, yeah. I'm like, whatever. So then he went at him, and same thing, like he took him off the rip, and then he got him in the end. I'm like, yeah, he's got the fit.
Higher speeds, 60-ish.
Yeah, he's
60-ish.
faster, so... But no, that's cool. So he finally got on it and gave it all it had. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not like he wouldn't walk away from us, but he got us. You know what I mean? Before we'd take about like 2-3 cars. So how would my red R8 do against them? I don't know, because the car got totaled. Right. Somebody rear-ended me. Not my fault. That car was faster than the one I have now.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, the car I have now, it's a Spider. They're heavier.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I still don't know if that car was tuned. He seems to think it was tuned. It was quick. The R8 was fast. I've raced multiple Lamborghini Huracans, and some of them had like small upgrades, and I'd still take them.
Yeah.
But yeah, this car's still fast. It's just it's not as fast as the other one. Goes good though.
And by the way, all this took place in Mexico.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Tijuana.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Damn. That's crazy. And it's crazy that like you guys just have like so many things that happened even before you guys had the brand. Like, did you guys, when you guys were like first getting into the car scene, was like the brand ever something you thought of, or did it just kind of come and then you just kind of took it?
Didn't even think about it.
We just seen that nobody was really showcasing the car scene up here, up north and East Coast. So we decided to start showcasing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that exactly like what he just said, that kind of just reminded me. So when we had this discussion about doing the 0 to 60-ish brand itself, It was more or less like we wanted to start off doing a YouTube channel, and we just wanted to showcase like our crazy lifestyle.
Yep.
Like, wasn't just cars; it was cars, fishing, like the deep sea fishing, like being out middle of the ocean in a 23-foot boat. You know what I mean? Pulling in tuna or whatever it was. You know what I mean? But then, like I said, we kind of just fell into the whole car thing. We're like, oh, it's gonna be too hard to like showcase everything. And when we went back to our normal lives, the car thing always stayed. We were always heavy with that. So we thought, like, you know what? When we watch a lot of YouTube videos, and we watch DDE, like Daily Driven Exotics, like those guys are doing it. You know what I mean? Yep. But they're out in California.
Yep.
Right.
And over here in New England, like nobody's really doing anything.
Right.
I get it. Like the Northeast, like you have winter months, so everybody puts their cars away for, you know, end of fall all the way to early spring, right? So that's a long time where there's no car scene. And the people that do stuff, they travel down to Florida, you know, have their cars shipped out there, whatever. And I get it. So that's why not a lot of people do stuff up here.
Right.
But I said that's not a good enough excuse to not have something.
Yeah.
I said this market is here for the taking. Let's do something. Let's try to capitalize on this. So that's when we came up with the whole, let's do a lifestyle brand in the New England scene, because there's nobody else doing it. So why can't we? And if once we start doing that, maybe other people will want to do that up here as well. And we're all for that.
You're right.
Like, we want somebody else to be like, hey, like, we see what you guys are doing. That's dope. We want to do it too. And we want to collab with you guys. And like, we want to build the New England scene.
Right.
We don't want to just be like only 0 to 60-ish and nobody else.
Right.
We want to motivate. We want to inspire, you know, other people to want to do stuff like that here as well. So we can build this community and show the world, like, hey, like, Boston, you know, New England itself has a really big car scene.
Yep.
And like, those dudes are doing it too. You know what I mean?
Right.
Exactly.
But we didn't want to just stop there. You know?
We
Like, we love clothing. I'm really into fashion.
Yep.
I've always had a passion for fashion as a kid growing up. Like, when my mother would go shopping, like, she'd take me with her sometimes, and she liked the nicer things. And like I said, we didn't really come from much, but every now and then she'd buy herself something nice, and I would be like, what is that? You know, and she'd be like, oh, this is like Christian Dior or something. Like, when she could spoil herself, she would. And she taught me all about those things. And she was like, you know, when you grow up, you want to do good in life so you can, you know, do these things for yourself, and, you know, you don't want to struggle and yada, 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 whatever, right? So I fell into the whole fashion thing as a kid. Like, I didn't have that many nice things, but I knew what I wanted when I grew up. I like it. I've always loved fashion, and I've learned about all these brands when I was like 10, 11 years old. I knew what Gucci was. I knew what, you know, like nice timepieces were, like Rolex watches, stuff like that. So I was like, all right, I got to work hard if I want this stuff.
Right.
So it all kind of fell into place when we came up with our own
brand
streetwear. You know what I mean? Like, our designs and styles. Like, I'm like, we want to do car based clothing, but we want to be different. We want to be unique. We want to have that urban streetwear style to it, where it kind of, everybody can feel like, yo, this is dope. This is fire. Like, I can rock with this. Like, there's some real fashion sense to it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just, let's just slap a Ferrari on the shirt and call it a day. You don't even put 0 to 60 on it. No, there's a lot of thought that went into like creating these shirts and collections.
Yeah.
Like what we're wearing right now, she's for the streets, right? So everybody talks about, you know, these car people, car guys and women, right? They kind of say like, you know, my car is my girl, it's my baby, it's a she, right? So she's for the streets, right? That's really what it is. That's what it means. Your car is
meant to be driven.
She's for the streets,
yeah.
Right? Some people may take it another way. You know,
oh well, I'll get over it.
How you will, but yeah. So we decided to go with some iconic designs.
Yeah.
He's a big Porsche guy. I'm a Ferrari guy. Obviously, likes Ferrari too. You know, Ferrari's the best. But, and Lamborghini, right? So what we wanted to do is we chose iconic cars for the design, right? we wanted to do our cars. We're like, you know what? Let's start off with something iconic, something that a lot of people had on their walls as kids. So we did the Ferrari F40, we did the wheel-tail Porsche, and then we did the Lamborghini Countach, was probably one of the, between that and the F40 are the two most popular iconic cars of its time.
Yeah.
And then they all have themes to it. So if people don't know, they're all New England themed, right? So we have the Ferrari F40 is basically out of Boston.
Yep.
So we have the North End here. We changed it up a little bit just because of copyright. You know what I mean? We didn't want to steal anybody's stuff.
Don't want to get sued.
But you can tell it's the North End of Boston. And then the back of the T-shirt, we have the cobblestone brick, which Boston is famous for.
Right.
On his wheel-tail Porsche, that's a Cape Cod shot. And then we have beach sand on the back,
Fire.
which is laid over the logo.
Yeah.
And then the Lamborghini Countach, you have a barn, which could be up in Vermont.
Yep.
And the back of it is the bull hide, right? Because Lamborghini, bull.
Yeah.
So that's what those shirts are. And if you didn't know what the back was, that's what it
Now
is.
you know.
Now you know.
As far as those shirts, do you remember like when you had that idea? Because I remember it.
Yeah. Yes and no. So I got so much on my mind because we're always ready to do the next thing. But
Yeah, that's how it goes.
obviously you guys were there to be a big part of this and to help get this done. So I appreciate that. I know I reached out to Alex multiple times and I'm like, hey, that looks dope. But we got to change this. We got to change that. But the Ferrari shirt, you nailed it
Phenomenal.
right
that
away.
one's so good, yeah.
So we spoke on the design,
Yep.
and we kind of obviously we went over this whole concept together, and it just like in my head, I think I was sleeping, I was dreaming, and I'm like, oh man, I want to do this. It's a really good idea. Like when we're talking about the backs of the shirts, you know what I mean?
Yep.
The back of the shirts, and I said, hey, let's do this. And then you kind of tweaked it. You guys tweaked it and then showed me the render. And I'm like, yo, that's dope. Let's run with that. So the Ferrari one, we actually got this one done right away.
Yeah, that was
quick.
First one done, yeah.
And me personally, I think the Ferrari one is the best one.
That's my favorite one. And there's so many details in it when you start digging in and everything.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
I think the Lamborghini one's my favorite one.
You think so? It's clean. It looks good. They all came out really good in the end. But when you see the behind the scenes, that was
It was
definitely the best one.
Probably like 30 to 40 hours of work in those 3 shirts.
Yeah.
Maybe even more.
Yeah. In that range.
I was getting stressed out after like this one. I was like, okay, cool. We got this one done right away.
Yep.
Shirt one, we're done. But we already knew we wanted to do a Lamborghini Countach and a Porsche Whaletail, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, let's go on to the Lambo. So we started doing the Lambo, and we kind of went back and forth. And then I was like, yo, I'm like, okay, that part looks good. Let's do the back. Because I'm like, I jump all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like,
We've
let's
noticed.
do the Lamborghini bull hide. I think that's gonna look cool. And you guys are kind of like, what? I thought we had that conversation like, how's this gonna translate? I'm like, listen, let's just do it. Let's get it done.
Nice.
So you guys, I'm pretty sure we had a design.
Yep.
And it wasn't working.
I don't remember what it was.
I don't.
remember
Yeah,
what it was.
I think it looked like a cow. That's what everyone's saying.
No,
What does it look like now?
Consensus.
Does it
That's
look
what
like
it
a
looks
cow
like.
now?
I think it looks like
No.
a bull. I think it looks like a bull. I Googled bull colors,
We
right?
had the whole
Bull hide.
conversation.
And I'm like, nah, that fits, man. That goes good. I'm like, Lamborghini, bull, like it goes.
Bulls come in all kinds of colors.
Yeah.
and-
Yep.
So
It worked.
But no, it came out good. But after we had the colors, after we decided on the colors itself, like now it was you got to put it together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you put it together, the final render came out. I was like, yo, that's dope. Let's go with that.
Yep.
So we ended up going with that, and I said, okay, finally we can get to the Porsche. So we did the Porsche, and I think we changed the color a couple of times. We were gonna do yellow.
The yellow
I think
for
we're
the
gonna do yellow.
Porsche.
Yep. I think we were.
Yellow.
Yeah.
We wanted red, but we're like, we have Ferrari red already.
Yeah.
So let's do yellow. And there was a little issue there, so like, all right, let's go with the green.
Yeah.
So we did the green, and the green,
It looks perfect.
you banged that one out. Came out
Yeah.
though, and
That looks
the
good.
air balloon. I don't know where you got that from, but I like it.
Thought you guys? Might have been him.
That wasn't me.
Might have been me.
I didn't say air
I think that
balloon.
was
You just
me.
put an air balloon. I was like, is that an air balloon?
Might have been me. I don't know.
I'm
I like it.
Because I'm like, where are we gonna put the 060-ish logo on the front? And then you guys just like magically put an air balloon in there. I'm like, okay, cool.
Hey, it works.
Shout out to the airplane.
Yeah, so the air balloon was like, that was the finishing touch.
Yeah.
And then we did the beach stand. I'm like, I want to do beach stand. I want to do stand like for
I like the sunset.
You like the sunset.
I think I like the sunset too, but the sand matches the front of the shirt.
Yeah,
because we had
it goes. The sunset would have too.
Yeah,
but I think people get it more with the sand. You know what I mean?
We had other colors for the lettering originally.
Yeah.
I think that matched the sunset.
Yeah,
that's why. But either way, they came out phenomenal.
Yeah, it came out dope. So then we decided, okay, we're gonna do black and we're gonna do cream.
Yep.
So then one day I had a conversation with his nephew, Caden, and he's in high school.
Yep.
Right. So
yeah. Plays football.
those opinions.
Good kid. He's really into fashion stuff too.
Yeah, no kidding.
And he was like, bro, those are dope. He's like, but you guys have like the vintage wash? And I was like, nah, damn. I'm like, I didn't do it. And you know what? I said, shame on me.
Yeah.
I said, shame on me, guys, because I should have had that thought in my mind. And he was like, yeah, man, all the kids like vintage wash. I'm like, I love vintage wash. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of my rock shirts are vintage or tie-dye, stuff like that. So I reached out to you guys and I'm like, hey, we gotta do one more thing. We're going back to the drawing board. Let's do vintage wash.
It was smart. It was good.
So we did the vintage wash and the wash came out dope. I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah. Shout out Caden for that. I didn't know that was him.
Yeah.
He always wears vintage wash. Every time I see him, he's
that's right. Yeah,
I work with him a lot. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I shoot with him all the time. Him and Osiris.
Oh, for
Yeah, for football.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knows
what's
what's
flag
up.
and everything.
He knows what's up.
Yeah. So
That's crazy. Yeah.
no, that was dope.
I just remember we were at a fashion show, and it was the Style in the Mill show, and then Jonathan texted me and he goes, "Yo, I had a dream," and I'm just like, "All right, Martin Luther King." Like,
Martin Luther King.
He says that all the time. He just called me at like 8 a.m. He's like, "Yo, I had a dream last night." I was like, "All right."
I said, listen, you got to write this down right away, so you don't forget.
Yep.
Yeah, but he was just like, "Oh yeah, like."
I think I have ADHD, bro.
Might be.
Been diagnosed, but
name one genius that ain't crazy.
Yeah, so I'm like, listen, we got to write this down. I don't want to forget. So like, I'll go into my notes and I'll write something down. Just because like, I just have so many things going on in my life. It's hard to like remember everything. You know what I mean? So, but I do have these like genius ideas. You know what I mean? But I forget them quick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
because your mind is always focused on the next
I'm
thing.
always thinking of something. Like right now, like I'm thinking of new designs in the clothing. You know what I mean?
Right.
I have all these ideas that I want to do.
Talking about it.
And if I have an idea, I roll with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the other day, I had which we can kind of jump into after, but I had the whole idea of like, hey, like we talked about it before, but out of nowhere, it just popped in my head about giving like these kids a ride to school. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I love giving back to the community. You know what I mean? And that's why we host our shows in Fitchburg. Game On. Like we could do it in Boston. We could do multiple places, but I would rather keep it here in our community where we came from because we know a lot of people here. We went to school here. A lot of people show support and love for us here, so we want to to give them that experience, right?
Yeah.
So we have like potential like helicopters coming into our events. We have hypercars, hopefully at some point, but we got a lot of supercars, and then we have everything else in between, right? So the whole giving the kids a ride to school thing kind of just came back to me, and I was like, you know what? I'm like, I'm gonna go on Discussing Fitchburg, and I'm gonna make a post of, we're gonna do like a giveaway, and we want to give two lucky kids a ride to school on their first day of school. Give them a T-shirt, give them a sticker, and just show them like 0 to 60-ish is like, we're here to serve the community, and we have a lot of cool stuff in store for them.
That's awesome.
So.
Oh, that could be
If we
cool.
can put a smile on the kid's face, that's dope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And plus all the kids at school, when they see us pull up, they get to see the cars. If they want to take pictures with them, they could do all that. So I did a post on Discussing Fitchburg, and we got a lot of attention off that. And a lot of people would love to have their kids, obviously win that. And I'd love to give every one of those kids would ride to school, but unfortunately that's a little hard to do. So, but we'll try. We want to try and do something for the schools throughout the school year. So
yeah,
that's really awesome.
Something else will come up.
Yeah. It's also good that like I mentioned before, is like these kids never get to see that. These kids have never been around that. So yeah, like that even if that was something that I had when I was a kid, it probably would have pushed me to just like work that much harder in X, Y, and Z, or do this or do things differently. So I love what you guys are doing. What do you guys think that's like the next thing that you guys want to do with the brand?
So the next thing with the brand, I mean, so all of our events for the season, they're done. Our events, like we completed all those. They were all successful. Cool. Great turnouts. What we're doing right now is we're joining up with some other people.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So there's a gentleman that I met through one of our buddies, Enzo Motoring. We met one of his buddies that actually hosts pulled up events.
Oh yeah.
And he has an event in Springfield.
Okay.
Is it the summer send-off one? Is it that one?
No, it's
it's a tattoo convention.
Yeah, it's a tattoo convention. It's like tattoos, bikes, and cars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
And I met him through Enzo. Obviously just through networking with other car people. We had good conversation. Dude seems like a really good dude. He asked if we wanted to be a part of the event, and we said yeah. So the 21st of September, we'll be in Springfield at that convention center, which is right over at MGM, at the casino.
Yep.
So we'll be part of that. We do want to have a season closer.
Mm-hmm. I think you should.
But I think what we'll do is we'll do a Cars and Coffee
At the shop?
at the shop.
Sweet.
I think that'd be
have our
perfect.
grand opening, and one of our other buddies, our buddy Lawrence, he just opened another. Well, he's actually in the middle of opening another bar, relocating his bar in Fitchburg on Chaffinch Highway.
Okay.
Excuse me. So once he opens that new location, we're actually working on putting together like a big show there.
Sweet.
Not sure if we're gonna do it on a weekend yet. Like once we speak about it a little bit more, we'll have more details, and obviously we'll let everybody know on social media.
Yeah.
But that'll be a cool event, and that place will hold over 600 cars.
Oh,
No
wow.
problem.
Yeah.
So
For the people that don't know, both of their cars are wrapped in camo. Why did you guys do that, for the people that don't know?
you want to take this one?
So we did some work together for a short while, and we were just coming up with different ways, how we can make the car stand out a little more, modifying it. We already added the wheels, we did that,
Right.
performance parts. So we're like, what about a wrap? So
Right.
we started thinking about like crazy colors, like exotics are bright colored, and then I brought it up one day. I looked at, I was looking at some Young Dolph cars. So we're like, what about Young Dolph themed wraps to like, pay homage.
Right.
So we talked about it, and so we reached out to a few shops after we both agreed we wanted to do it. But then we were like, we don't want to do exactly the same. We want to do it somewhat different.
Right.
Yeah.
So we were like, oh, we'll just leave the base color of the car and then do the camo, leaving out one color.
Right.
So it didn't clash with his blue.
Yeah.
He replaced it with the blue.
Right. So we'd go back and forth with this kind of like almost every other day. Like, oh, what do we want to do for a wrap? And and when we talk about it, we get super excited.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, that'd be so dope. I'm like, nobody's doing that around here. Like, people had camo wraps around here, but nothing like that.
No, not like that.
Not
Right?
like that.
So,
And a long time ago too.
right?
Yeah.
So
Everyone stopped.
when he mentioned the Young Dolph thing, like we listened to Young Dolph music, right?
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of his stuff, and I actually, a lot of people do know this, but a lot of people don't know this about me. Like I was speaking on it earlier, my brother's an artist. I actually had reached out to Young Dolph on Instagram a few years ago, and he actually replied to one of my messages. I I showcased a lot of my brother's art at that time.
Yeah.
This was before 0 to 60ish, and I was posting a lot of my brother's art on my page because we were working together at that point. You know what I mean? I was helping him source clients and stuff like that, and coming up with ideas for paintings. You know, that's my creative side, right? So I had reached out to Dolph, and I had sent them some pictures and some projects that we were working on. He loved it. As soon as he saw it, he was like, "Yo, that's fire." And I was like, "Hey, man," I'm like, "Listen, I'm a fan of your music." I said, "I'd love to work with you and do a piece." So we had gone back and forth, honestly, like just conversing for maybe like a year. You know what I mean? Like I have all those messages in my phone still to this day. And then we started cooking something up for him, and then, you know, unfortunately, he met his demise, and it never got to transpire. Like, we didn't actually get a painting for him done. But the fact that we had all those conversations and we spoke, like, it just made me like him that much more as a person. I'm like, because, like, dude, you know, at the end of the day, I was just some random dude just, you know, sending him artwork.
Right.
And the dude had a crazy following, and he just happened to click on it one day, saw my stuff. Yeah. And he liked it, and he was like, "Yo, like, cool." And he would give me words of, you know, wisdom and stuff like that. And, you know, just like, hey, he'd be like, one of the things he'd say is, he'd say, "Appreciate you. Appreciate you." And he'd be like, "Keep working," you know what I mean? And, and like stuff like that. So that was cool. So it made me like listen to his music even more. I'm like, "Yo, this dude's cool, man." Yeah. And so when it came down to it, we were wrapping our cars. I was like, you know what? Like, we want to pay homage to Dolph, but we don't want to copy him.
You don't want to copy it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? We want to be unique. We want to be different. I actually did reach out to Atlanta Customs, and if Atlanta Customs did it, we were going to allow them to make them identical to like Dolph's, because they're the ones that started that trend with Dolph. So we wanted to be respectful. But we didn't end up going that route, because we decided at the end of the day we did want to be a little different. Yeah. So we reached out to our good friend Matt over at Luxury Details, and we said, "Hey, you know, we want to have you wrap our cars. Can we put something together?" And he said, "Yeah, no problem, man. He was like, "I like your idea." So we gave him the idea of, you know, what we wanted to do. We went in house, and his guy is phenomenal at wraps and designs. Fred. So we went up in the lab, and we started cooking. We just told him kind of like, "Hey, this is how we want it done," and he just went off of our ideas and designed it. Wow. And then the 0 to 60ish logo, we kind of like, I said, I want to do graffiti style in the 0 to 60ish logo, because I want that street style. You know what I mean? Because that's who we are. That's where we came from, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? We love hip hop culture. Yeah. We love everything else in between, but hip hop is like, you can't take me away from it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Didn't you like work in music at one point or another? Or do something in music?
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, so my buddy, that's kind of how it all started. He owns a label, and he basically got Joyner Lucas started with his career. You know, like Joyner was already doing his thing, but they met each other, and they started working together, and that's kind of how I met. That's how I met them. Interesting. One of my buddies reached out to me, and they're like, "Hey, they want to rent cars for a video shoot. Would you be interested?" And I'm like, "Well, who's the video shoot for?" And they wouldn't tell me. Oh. I didn't know Joyner at that time. Okay. And I didn't know Sean. So they just said, you know, I had a conversation with Sean. He was like, "Hey, if you want to bring the car," he was like, he's a big artist. He's an upcoming artist. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, "All right, cool, word." So I brought my Ferrari. I think we brought another car. And then I thought it was Joyner Lucas. And I had met Joyner prior to that. Okay. But like a few years before, like when he was, and I loved his music. Yeah. Dude's a genius. You know what I mean?
Yeah. His coming out of Worcester too.
So I'm like, wow, this is weird. This is like some full circle type of stuff, right? So Sean and I became friends, and you know, every now and then when they would do video shoots, like, you know, a lot of times cars were incorporated in these videos. Right. So he'd reach out to me, like, "Hey," he was like, "You guys want to put some cars in the video shoot?" You know, so we kind of worked together with that. So we basically we'd rent them out. You know what I mean? And then we just became friends, and it was more like, wasn't really like a renting out thing anymore. It just was like, you know, crew love type shit. Right. You know what I mean? And then we did, I can't tell you how many Joyner shoots we did, but there's quite a few. And it was always a good time.
Awesome.
Sean, Joyner, they're good people. You know what I mean? Nothing but love for those guys. And then we met another artist, which became like a really good friend of ours.
Yeah.
His name's King OSF.
Mm-hmm.
He's out of Providence, Rhode Island. Dude's a beast.
Yeah.
He's actually one of my favorite artists, honestly,
Really?
from New England. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, New England doesn't have like a whole lot of artists that came
I mean,
out,
they
but
do. The problem is like you really got to go to you got to be in New York.
You got to be in New York.
You got to be in New York.
Atlanta,
You got to get yourself planted out there, or Philly.
Yeah.
If you really want to
Philly,
pop
Atlanta.
off, Boston's not really known for that. Like, but Joyner changed things. You know what I mean? Joyner's from
Joyner
there.
changed things.
He really changed things for the music industry out here. I mean, now you got Millie's. Millie's is killing
Millie's
it.
is coming up.
OSF is nasty, dude. I'm telling you, like that kid in the next couple years,
He's going places.
and maybe sooner. I think it would have been sooner, but things changed.
Yeah.
You know, but just because like he's not with that label anymore, and you know he had kids and stuff like that, but he's back on. He's popping hard.
Yeah.
Like if you haven't heard of him, check him out.
Check him out.
King OSF.
Gotta
Dude's
get
a
him on
beast.
podcast.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Yeah.
We actually did a music video with him.
Yeah.
Yep.
We did a 0 to 60-ish song.
Yeah, we did a 0 to 60th song with him when we first started the brand.
Yeah.
I called him up one day. We were kind of talking. I was like, "Yo, let's cook something up, man. Let's get some music going." Like that's kind of where the whole differentiating ourselves from everybody else.
Right.
Yeah.
Like some people may laugh at it and be like, "Yo, that's stupid," whatever. But like,
Nah.
I thought it was a vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what
It
I mean?
was.
And
It
if you
was.
watch the video is dope.
It's a video. It's a
I've
dope
seen it.
video.
The video is dope. You know, we
Crazy
filmed that
video.
one day.
Really?
In Newport.
Newport, yeah.
And I'll tell you one thing about rappers, like, nothing against my boy O, but they're all the same. Bro, it is so hard to get them to commit
Yeah.
to
Oh
like
my
meeting
God.
up and you know,
I'm doing something.
doing something. Like he made the song right away, bro. He made a banger right away.
Yeah.
So I kind of told him like, you know, certain things I wanted to kind of be incorporated in the song. So we kind of cooked it up together, but he made the song. He sent me a beat and I was like, damn, this is fire, bro. I'm like, let's go with this. It's on the slower side. It's like a slower pace, but
It's a vibe.
yeah, it's definitely a vibe. And it was fun. It was a fun day. We got kicked out of Newport.
Sweet.
The cops came over. They said, we appreciate what you guys are doing here, but now you got to leave.
Yeah.
That's
We're
crazy.
Makes
like,
sense.
all right,
Hey, they
cool.
give
We
you
just
the
wrapped up.
We're like
And-
stopping traffic.
That's how it went with the media day too.
Bro, we used the Lamborghini. We used my brother's Lamborghini for that
The
shoot.
haircut. Yeah.
So my R8 was in it,
Yep.
but because it was a Spider, you know, OSF wanted that Spider vibe.
Yeah.
So I'm driving the car, the top's down, because we had drones, we had all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, OSF is sitting on the back deck lid of the car, and he's got his feet on the seats. Like he didn't have any shoes on or whatever, but my brother let me use the car. I'm like, yo, let me take the Lambo, right? We're gonna use this for filming. And he's like, yeah, no problem. He's like, don't disrespect my car. I'm like, yeah, of course. Facts, bro. I'm not gonna disrespect it. No problem. I got you. So we dropped the video, like clips of it, like 2 weeks later,
Yeah.
and he sees OSF sitting on the back of the car with his feet on the seats, and he was like, yo, he was tweaking. He was like, yeah, shoes on. I'm like, nah, he ain't got no shoes on, man. Don't worry about it. He's good. He was like, God, he was pissed. He wasn't happy with me, but he liked the video. He thought it was
That's
dope.
funny.
I mean, I was like, bro, it was a vibe.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah. You
Well, you gotta take one for the team.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
unfortunately, that day you took one for the team.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So,
That's crazy.
but yeah, that video came out good. I reached back out to O. He's actually got a lot of things in the works right now. And he released his album not too long ago.
Sweet.
So I reached out to him though. I'm like, hey, let's cook something up this summer.
Yeah.
He said he was down to do it. We haven't had a chance
chance
to kind of put it together yet.
Been a packed summer.
It was all around.
Car shows and fashion shows and
Yeah, the car
media
shows,
day
the fashion show. We just completed Dream Ride. That was a 3-day event. It's always super, super hot there, but it's dope.
Jeez.
It's a vibe. Ton of people from New York and Connecticut, Rhode Island,
Right.
bought the merch. They loved it.
Awesome.
Yeah, the Streets collection, people can't get enough of that.
That's awesome.
No.
You know what I mean?
Glad to hear that.
Yeah.
The hat was was pretty cool too.
Yeah, it came out great.
Nobody sees a velvet hat. Like,
Yeah.
like that's crazy.
That looks great.
I don't know. I think the Streets collection was probably one of the biggest projects that I want to say the largest project. I think it was like
fun.
It was a very fun
Yeah, it was a lot of
project.
fun.
Yeah, I think, but on the next drop that we do for the fall, winter, whatever it may be, it's gonna be even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Every
It's
time.
gonna be 10 times better.
Oh yeah.
Great. Okay. What is it? One thing we're blessed with, and one thing we're envisioning.
I'll start.
Yeah, you start.
All right. We'll go. One thing I'm blessed with right now is it's the end of the summer. So looking back at everything we've been able to do with you guys as a brand ourselves, myself for my work, all that sort of thing. Super excited to wrap that up and move into the fall. Envisioning. I don't know. I think we got a lot ahead for all around for everything. So I'm excited to get to work.
Yeah.
Stick to it.
One thing I'm blessed with is just starting a new job, and then just honestly just really blessed with the things that I've been able to do in the a period of time that we've been doing things. Like, we just hit 2 years that we've been doing this, and like, you know, within that 2 years we've worked with so many people and met so many people, and then went so many places, and then just like hosting our own events. Like, it's been crazy. It's just everything's just a blessing. One thing I'm envisioning is honestly just how much further we can take it, because you know we're not slowing down. So
Yep.
yeah, so
Now we make a good team.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll make it real. Keep it real simple.
Go for it.
Being blessed with just the best family and friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Health is number one, obviously.
absolutely.
And then, you know, growth.
Yep,
Yep.
absolutely.
You know, growth is what I see. I see us being something really big in the future.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So we're just gonna keep working at it, and
I like it.
enjoy this journey.
Absolutely.
That's all it is.
Yep. One thing I'm blessed with is just real simple life. Every day above the ground is a good day.
That's
you
true.
know. And obviously family and friends. And same thing. Envision the growth of the brand. Just only way is up.
Only way is up.
Yep.
Word. All right, guys, that's what we got. It was a long episode, but hey, thank you guys for tuning in. Peace.
Peace.